To proceed, we're still on Ubudiyyah, true slavery, being a true slave of Allah, a book that is authored by Imam Ibn Taymiyyah, rahimahullah, and translated by Nasruddin al-Khattab, and published by Taha Publishers or Al-Hidayah Publishers. These are the two different versions. This one has the verses in Arabic. I actually found out that it is easier for me to sort of track down where I am because of the visual recognition of the verses in Arabic. Going, from here. So anyway, but since we started from with this book, we are now on page 48 of this book, and it's sincerity towards Allah. We did go over this in the last time, and we said that the two conditions are two conditions for acceptance of any deed. The two conditions that you need to fulfill in this life to be a true slave, to be one of the successful ones, to prosper. Yes, mutaba or correctness, both are the same, because if you follow the Prophet ﷺ, you'll be correct. So correctness is in the adherence to the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. So Fudayl ibn Iyad, when he was asked about Allah saying, لِيَبْلُوَكُمْ أَيُّكُمْ أَحْسَنُ عَمَلًا, to test you who is better in action, he said, what's the better action? He said, أَخْلَصُهُ أَصْوَابُهُ, that which is most sincere and most correct. So they asked him, what does it mean? So he told them, sincere devotion to Allah and correct adherence to the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. Now, under a title that is Worship Plus, the author, the title is from the translator anyway, but the author had talked in this particular segment of the book about instances when we define ibadah. How do we define ibadah? Because it's important here. Yeah, any action that's pleasing to Allah, whether it's hidden or manifest, is he's doing well. So, any action that's pleasing to Allah, whether it's hidden or manifest, we have another approach to it also, approach to the definition. As far as the state of being, your state, it's a state of complete humility with complete love. So ibadah is a mixture of complete humility with complete love. It's tamam al-hubb ma'a tamam al-dhull wal-khudu'. So it is the perfect love coupled with complete humility and submission. Okay, so if ibadah is everything that is pleasing to Allah, everything that is pleasing to Allah is ibadah, then why is it that sometimes Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions ibadah and something else, in the same phrase or sentence? It might be asked, if all that Allah loves is included under the heading of ibadah, then why did He add other things to the idea of worship? Even إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ, only you do we worship, only you do we seek help from. Isn't إِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ part of إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ? Isn't seeking help from Him part of worshiping Him? Yes. الدعاء هو العبادة. The Prophet ﷺ said, supplication or dua, to ask Allah, to invoke upon Allah, to seek, your needs from Allah, that is worship, the Prophet ﷺ said. Because once you do this, you have recognized the existence of Allah, the greatness of Allah, the compassion of Allah. Because you never ask someone unless they are capable and willing. So when you ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you're recognizing Allah's capability of helping you at any time and His willingness to do that. So, إِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ is part of إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ, right? Okay. So why did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Al-Hajj says, for instance, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا, O you who believed, اركعوا, bow, واسجدوا, prostrate, وَاعْبُدُوا رَبَّكُمْ, and worship your Lord, وَافْعَلُوا الْخَيْرِ, and do righteousness, لَعَلَّكُمْ تُفْلِحُونَ, that you may prosper. So 1, 1, 2, and 4 are part of 3. So why would you do this? There is a long explanation here, but you do this for various reasons. Sometimes when you do this, then in this particular context, ibadah refers to something other than, the other things mentioned, or the other acts mentioned. So like faqir and miskeen. When you say faqir or miskeen, faqir and miskeen, both of them mean what? Indigenous poor, poor. But when you say faqir and miskeen together in the same verse, إِنَّمَا الصَّدَقَاتُ لِلْفُقَرَاءِ وَالْمَسَاكِينِ, most certainly alms are to be given to al-fuqara, faqirs, and miskeens, masaki. So, what is, in this case, faqir will not be miskeen, and faqir and miskeen will have different definitions. Miskeen would be someone, according to the strongest position, miskeen would be someone who has, whose income does not suffice his needs. Faqir is someone who does not have an income, basically. So faqir is much poorer than a miskeen. That's why I started with the faqir. Okay, so in this case, ibadah sometimes comes to, in the meaning of what you do. So إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ, only you do worship and only you do we seek help from. So when you seek help, you are wanting something for you. But when you pray, when you fast, you do this for Allah. So ibadah comes in to refer to that. In this particular, context, or in this particular ayah. So what about اركعوا واسجدوا واعبدوا ربكم وافعلوا الخير لعلكم تفلحون? Bow, prostrate, worship your Lord, and do righteousness that you may prosper. How would you explain that?
Wasn't it from before, like you were saying, a believer is a higher level than a sinner? You were telling us last time that someone who believes will do more than someone who just hears.
Yeah, the mu'min and the Muslim. The mu'min and Muslim is like the faqir and miskeen. If you mention the mu'min alone, it means the Muslim. Muslim alone, it means the mu'min. But when you mention them together, then the mu'min will be a higher level than the Muslim. Or if you mention them together, the mu'min will be, the iman will be about the acts of the beliefs, the hidden beliefs, and Islam will be the manifest acts. Or one will be the acts of the heart, one will be the acts of the body, and so on. But in this ayah, اركعوا واسجدوا واعبدوا ربكم وافعلوا الخير. So bow, prostrate, worship your Lord, and do righteousness. Basically, sometimes when you mention these, it is to underscore the importance of certain acts. Underscore the importance of certain acts. And in fact, this particular verse is very beautiful because it talks about the rituals that you perform, and then it talks about ibadah in the general sense, and then it talks about doing righteousness. And doing righteousness in this context of fa'alul khair, it means look after the widow and the orphan, and extend kindness to people, and free the captives or the slaves or this or that. So that is a fa'alul khair, do righteousness. So it is a reminder that don't neglect that. Don't be ritualistic without having the true essence or meaning of iman, which is to to يفعل الخير, to do righteousness, because those ibadat are meant eventually إن الصلاة تنهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. So most certainly the prayer forbids one or keeps one from fahsha, obscenity, munkar, evil, and transgression. Allah exhorts you that you may take heed, or that you may remember. So if it is اركعوا واسجدوا واعبدوا ربكم should lead to فعل الخير, do righteousness. If someone prays and fasts and so on, and he will eventually be, cruel and, liar and cheater and so on and so forth, then it's not working for him. Then he needs to figure out what's wrong with his worship, what's wrong with what he does. It's not working. It's basically not working. So you go back and figure out what's happening. Am I doing it wrong? Am I doing it for the wrong purpose? So if it doesn't refine you, it is not working for you. You need to go back and figure it out. So when these things are mentioned individually next to ibadah, they are to underscore the importance of, or highlight the importance of certain aspects of ibadah. That is basically the message from that whole part, or that whole segment about worship plus. It's called worship plus. And then if you move to the next segment on page 52, which is Ubudiyyah, the route to perfection. Before we go to the next segment, I look, do you see this picture? What is this picture anyway? Yeah, it's a cage, Well, thank you for the information. But
suggesting that somebody escaped slavery.
Yeah.
Doesn't send the right message at all.
Okay. So you're saying that it's suggested that someone escaped from slavery, and since the book is talking about slavery, so it's not sending the right message. The other way around. Okay, so basically, you got the 2 points here that I wanted to mention.
The word was in there to be better because it would show that you could get out.
No, but the idea here is you can really look at it from different perspectives, because slavery goes along with captivity, right? So if you can look at it from that perspective, that a slave is captive. And to some extent, you can. Didn't the Prophet ﷺ say, "Dunya sijnul al-mu'min wa jannatul kafir"? Dunya is the prison of the believer and the paradise of the disbeliever, because basically, the mu'min has many strings and many, sort of concerns, or many things to watch for, many regulations, instructions, many limitations, bounds, and so on. It is like a prison. Like a prison in the sense, not in the sense that you will have this stressful life. No, you should not. As a believer, you should not. But in the sense that, you want to buy a car, and then you sort of have to ask like 200 muftis about the contract, or you want to buy a house, or you want to do this, or you found a job, but the job has a little bit of something, and then you go around and you keep on asking and stuff, and those are all bounds. So that is like a prison, because a prison limits you. So you're limited. So you can think of slavery as captivity, and then in this sense, this will not be sending the right message. But if you think about it in the opposite way, your only way to freedom or liberty is to be a true slave of Allah. So so when you fulfill your slavery to Allah, that is when you get liberated. That is when you can be free or escape from the cage. The cage here is what? Man's wife. Or the woman's husband. Just to be fair. Okay. No, yeah, that's absolutely right. But it's actually layers. It's too many layers. Right? Okay. One of the layers okay. Should we do this some other time? Okay, one of the layers is the dunya itself. It is a place of captivity. Basically, you have been expelled to this dunya, to the life of this world, from paradise. قال اهبطوا منها بعضكم لبعض عدو. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said to Adam and Eve when they ate from the tree, He said, descend from it. Some of you will be enemies for each other. You will be enemies for one another. وَلَكُمْ فِي الْأَرْضِ مُسْتَقَرٌ وَمَتَاعٌ إِلَى حِينٍ. And you will have a place of abode or an abode on earth for a limited time. An abode and enjoyment on earth for a limited time. So basically, you know how wide the heavens are, paradise, and so you have been expelled, and that is your first captivity here, is this whole dunya, this whole world. It's a stage of your existence, a stage of captivity in your existence. Or one of the stages of your existence, but it is the stage of captivity. Now, that's why Ibn al-Qayyim said, فحي على جنات عدن فهي ديارنا الأولى وفيها المخيم ولكننا سبي العدو فهل ترى نعود إلى أوطاننا ونسلم. So, hasten to or come on to Jannat Aden, paradise of Eden, for that this is our hometown, and there is our abode or final abode, or ultimate abode. But we are the captives of the enemy. فهل ترى نعود إلى أوطاننا ونسلم. So do you think that we will be able to go back to our hometown and be safe of our enemy? So that is so dunya. Shaitan also is Shaitan actually could be the guard of this cage that prevents you from this freedom or liberty. And actually in Sahih Muslim, there's a hadith in Sahih Muslim in which the Prophet, hadith is reported from Iyad ibn Hamar, and the Prophet ﷺ said, actually the Prophet was conveying from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's a hadith Qudsi, it's a divine hadith, Allah was saying, Allah said, إِنِّي خَلَقْتُ عِبَادِي حُنَفَاءَ, I created my servants monotheistic. Hunafa means straight, or actually means deviant from deviation. So eventually straight. I have created my servants as pure monotheists. فجاءتهم الشياطين فاجتالتهم عن دينهم. So the shayateen, the devils, came and made them deviate or sway them away from their deen. وحرموا عليهم ما أحللت لهم, and they made forbidden to them that which I have made permissible, and so on. So that it shows. So that is another form of captivity. You're captive of the shayateen, or the devils, and the devils could be the jinn, and there are devils from the ins as well, or people as well. And in fact, it's an ongoing process. It's an ongoing fight with the devil. And like in Bukhari, there is a hadith, the Prophet ﷺ said that the Shaitan ties 3 knots. And you don't see the knots. I know that you don't see the knots, but you have to grow up, and understand what that means. So the Shaitan ties 3 knots on the back of your head when you go to sleep, and he says, عليك ليل طويل فارقد, or it's a long night, so sleep. يعقد الشيطان 3 عقد على قافية أحدكم إذا نام. عليك ليل طويل فارقد. You have a long night, so sleep. فإذا قام فذكر الله انحلت عقدة. If he woke up and remembered Allah, 1 knot will be undone. فإذا توضأ انحلت الأخرى. So if he made wudu, the second one will get undone. فإذا صلى انحلت كلها. So, and if he started to pray, all of them will be undone. فيصبح نشيطا طيب النفس وإلا أصبح كسلان خبيث النفس. So he will wake up, or he will start his morning نشيط, like active, energetic, طيب النفس, wholesome hearted, or tranquil. Otherwise, he would wake up kaslan, lazy, khabith al-nafs, with an evil soul, or evil sort of predisposition. So it shows you that this is an ongoing process, that it is not just one-time captivity. It's he's fighting to keep you under, those knots or ties or shackles, handcuffs, and so on, bounds. So Shaitan, dunya, Shaitan. What else could be this cage? Yeah, and nafs, your own soul, which is here your ego. And that is the hardest one. But before we get to this one, what is it?
All kind of desires.
Huh?
All kind of desires.
It could be a nafs, but yes, the desires, the carnal desires, bodily, fleshy desires. Basically, your body is a cage, and your soul is the bird inside. And so your body is very taxing, very sort of burdensome, because it has so many desires. The carnal, lower, bodily, fleshy desires that weigh down your soul. That's why fasting is good, because that's why Shaitan يجري من ابن آدم مجرى الدم في العروق. That the Shaitan goes through the son of Adam like blood goes through your vessels. And when you're well fed and well hydrated, your vessels sort of swell up with more blood. And, so the more you eat, the more you allow the Shaitan to control you. Because basically the Shaitan uses those lower desires. The lower desires are not, by the way, filthy. They are lower than the others, propositional desires and spiritual desires, but they are not filthy. They are not forbidden. They're not bad or evil. They just need to be regulated. But if they overtake you, then they are evil and bad. So those bodily desires are, another manifestation of this cage. So dunya and iblis and those bodily desires are another manifestation of the cage. What else could be this cage? And nafs, which is here the soul, but is it the genuine soul? Doesn't Allah say, إِنِّي خَلَقْتُ عِبَادِي حُنَفَاءَ, I have created my servants as pure monotheists, or created them pure. كُلُّ مَوْلُودٍ يُولَدُ عَلَى الْفِطْرَةِ, every child newborn will be born on fitra, which is the pure, genuine inclination. So if you think about it, the very soul that you are given, the core, your nafs is the outside shell. That's another layer of captivity. So, dunya, shaitan, your body, and then around your very soul there is a shell. That is your ego. That is suppressing, that is weighing down that very pure soul that is so deep inside. That's at the core. That's the one that you just need to sort of find it, tap into it, reach it. And many people fail to reach it because of the so many layers around it that prevent you from reaching to the core of your soul, the pure, the monotheistic one, the unadulterated, corrupted one, the uncorrupted one. So that ego that is around your soul is actually the hardest, because the closer it gets, the harder it gets. That's the shell that is right around. That's your nafs. That is the nafs that ordains evil and forbids good. That is the nafs that wants to show off. That's the nafs that wants to boast. That's the nafs that envies others. That's the nafs that hates. That's the nafs that competes, and bad competition. So, you see, most of the people, not most of the people, very few people are not like this, and it needs an ongoing struggle. But when you drive a Benz, for instance, when you buy a Benz, you're actually buying that triangle there. Because oftentimes you can get like a car that would do the same thing for much cheaper. Could do the same thing or even more for a lot cheaper. But you want to be seen in that, so you want to, park in the parking lot of the masjid, and everybody would recognize that you drove into a parking lot with a Benz, or in a Benz. But the same applies to the brands, And sometimes you may like something, but oftentimes people, buy the thing that has this little mark there, to say that I am distinguished. It is basically your ego, that self, that is trying to say that I am better. It's the same satanic, I am better than him. You created me from fire and created him from soil. So you're trying to say I'm better. But if you can't do this, some people can't do this, right? They don't have the money to do this. So they do something else. You sort of concoct like a different hairstyle so that you look different, you're distinguished. You dye your hair a different color. Will make you look distinguished. Sort of, you know how they wear the pants in such like a very weird way. I don't know how they walk like this. Yeah. They drop them down so that I don't know how you can walk like this. But it is basically, people think that those are the worst or most evil people. It is the same thing. It is like the guy in the Benz. But the guy in the Benz was able to afford the Benz and the cuffs on his shirt and so on and so forth. And that guy who's dropping his pants down was not able to afford the Benz. So it's a different manifestation of the same thing. I want to be distinguished. And if I can't do it this way, I'll do it that way, or I'll do it some way. I want to gratify that self, that ego, that shell that is actually suppressing your pure soul and holding it in a captivity. But again, it's some people will not do any of this. They could be very rich, but they will dress very humbly. Some of them may be good, but most are doing the same thing. It's a different manifestation. He wants to say that I am bigger than this. I am bigger than paying attention to, and he does it sort of sometimes intentionally. Like he would be extremely rich and he would wear like a $10 watch. That's fine. If he wants to spend the rest of his money on some good purpose, that's fine. But oftentimes he's doing it to say that I am beyond this. It is still I am.
Why all this? Why people are going to die? What's the point?
The point is that you have not been liberated yet. The point is that you have not achieved that true slavery or servitude. You are sort of locked up in this dunya, surrounded by those creatures that are obstructing your vision. You're just competing with everyone. You have not really established the right link between you and the one who created you, the one who brought you here. And once you have established that link and strengthened it, then the people will be quite insignificant. And once they become quite insignificant to you, you're not going to really worry much about how you will be perceived. That does not mean that you will sort of walk out at, without combing your hair, or, smelling bad and, dressed in just like weird, pajamas or something. It doesn't mean that at all. It just means that you will not really worry. You'll just buy something that looks good. That's fine. Buy like a good shirt, a good suit, a good that. Looks fine, looks good, looks clean. That's it. And then you walk out and you're not too worried, and you just don't think about it too much. And that's it. So all of those are layers of captivity. That's this cage. And truly, once you have established that right, established that umbilical cord, that link, that connection between you and the one who created you, you will be able to cut off the rest of the strings that hold you down. Okay, so going back to page 52. Man can only attain perfection by being a true slave of Allah. Ubudiyyah, the route to perfection. So the author here, rahimahullah, says, man can only attain perfection by being a true slave of Allah. The more his servitude or Ubudiyyah increases, the more perfect he becomes, and the higher he rises in status. Whoever imagines that a person could release himself from this servitude in some way or another, or that releasing oneself from it is better and more perfect, is one of the most ignorant of people and one of the furthest astray. Allah says, and they say, Allah most gracious has begotten offspring. Glory to Him, they are but servants raised to honor. So, وَقَالُوا اتَّخَذَ اللَّهُ وَلَدًا سُبْحَانَهُ بَلْ عِبَادٌ مُكْرَمُونَ. They said Allah took, a child for offspring. Subhanahu, glory be to Him, or glory is to Him. بَلْ عِبَادٌ مُكْرَمُونَ. They are servants raised to honor. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about whom here? Isa alayhi salam and the angels. Because some people said that Allah took the angels for daughters, and some people So Allah described them as ibad mukramun. So that is the highest status. They are raised to honor, but they're still servants. And it doesn't take away from their status that they are His servants. Then he will mention just so many verses here that pretty much reiterates the same thing. I think it will just, that verse was sufficient to underscore what's intended here. قَالُوا اتَّخَذَ الرَّحْمَنُ وَلَدًا سُبْحَانَهُ بَلْ عِبَادٌ مُكْرَمُونَ. Then on page 54, there is many messengers and one message. So on page 54, he says, many messengers, one message. There are many ayat in the Quran which describe the best of creation as being those who are slaves of Allah, and condemn those who rebel against this enslavement. Allah tells us that He sent all of His messengers with the same message. Not a messenger did we send before you without this inspiration sent by us to him, that there is no God but I, therefore worship and serve only me. It says, وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَا مِنْ قَبْلِكَ مِنْ رَسُولٍ إِلَّا نُوحِي إِلَيْهِ أَنَّهُ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا أَنَا فَاعْبُدْنِي أَنَّهُ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا أَنَا فَاعْبُدُونَ. So we have not sent a messenger before you except that we inspire him with this message. There is no God but me, so worship me alone. So worship me alone is basically the purpose and substance of all messages. From Adam to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is is this. The oneness of God and our need for His divine guidance, and our need for His divine guidance goes hand in glove with our need for worshiping Him. So you're basically designed to worship. And if you don't worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you will suffer from many afflictions, manifest and hidden, on your body and soul. So there will be many ayat that reiterate the same thing, which is that all the messengers were sent with just this one message. There is no God but me, so worship me alone. There is no God but me. Throughout the Quran will be frequently repeated, there is no God but me, so worship me alone. We'll keep the rest, inshallah, for next time. Or wait a second, maybe... no, let's keep the rest for the next time. To allow you to have... yeah, let's take some questions.